Hello YouTubers. Today I want to talk to you about writing iOS and Android apps using Xamarin, which is the component that or the company that Microsoft just acquired a little while back, just less than 2 months ago, from the date of this video, to make the Visual Studio as an integrated development environment more powerful and more cross-platform, specifically for mobile development. So if we look a little bit at history here, if we look back in February 24th, 2016, Microsoft decided to acquire Xamarin and make it a part of the organization in general, of the company. And you know, at a time I wasn't still sure if I should start learning Xamarin, if I should invest into this, because there are so many moving parts, there are so many decisions that are happening, and it wasn't still free. I just didn't really understand the idea of having to subscribe and pay X amount of dollars to write iOS and Android apps, while you just could use the already existing tools that are pretty much for free, especially if you have an iMac, and especially if you just can download an Android Studio. So I didn't really like the idea that I have to pay extra to use something that I already have. Just 4 days ago, Microsoft decided to make Xamarin a free package that comes with Visual Studio. And this is when I thought, okay, now that's pretty much a good time for us to just, you know, write C# and see that going out there on Android and iOS. The cool part is, you know, Android is easier because you don't have to go anywhere, but when you're doing iOS development, you have to actually have a machine, an iMac or whatever Mac machine, to actually connect to that machine and actually enable your integrated development environment, Visual Studio, to actually push down the code and make the build on the proprietary hardware and software the Apple has. So I'm going to make a quick demo here about how things are working. I have TeamViewer here to be able to just pull back and forth, so we don't have to go and see what the Mac is doing. Alright, so let's go ahead and launch Visual Studio. And what I want to do here is start a new project, and it's going to be a web view. I'm just going to call it like Xamarin web view app, Xamarin app. Alright, so the most important part that I want to look at here is the storyboard. And the storyboard shows you exactly like how your app is going to look like, how things are, you know, spreaded around the interface of your phone. It takes a while to load, just about a minute. But it gives you all these sets of tools. If you have done in the past any Windows desktop development, you would be pretty much familiar with the drag and drop mentality. And I think Xcode already implements something like that. The difference is Xcode doesn't really approach the clicking events or any events really to any of the tools that are on your user interface the same way Microsoft does. So, and I'll demonstrate that in a bit. But until this web page loads, I'm just going to go ahead and do something here with the web view. So let's say you already have a web application that is mobile friendly. You don't want to go and write extra stuff for a special native web app. You could just redirect your users to a web view, and this web view basically loads exactly the entire page in a mobile view. So you don't have to duplicate the effort here. Web views originally come with pre-made stuff that we really don't care about. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this already pre-existing code that Microsoft has here or Xamarin has here to demonstrate whatever. I'm just going to clean everything in here, and we're going to start from scratch. So the only thing I need here in my code is just, if there's a warning for memory and, the web view controller, if anything, if I want to handle clicking and not clicking, whatnot. And there's the view did load. If the view loaded, I could start adding my code in here, in this function. And what I want to do is, so I have a web view. That's the only controller on your app. And you want to initialize that web view, so I'm just going to go ahead and say this web view, and I want to extend the boundaries. Like I want to say how big or small this web view is. I want to take the entire thing. So I want the entire app, my entire Storyboard app here, and I'm going to make my view like iPhone 6. So I want it to take the entire view. So the boundaries here are going to be all the X and Y axis of the app. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna say this view itself, give me the bounds of it. So now I'm getting the bounds, and they are a frame. So you could actually get these values and pass them, so your web view will be for the entire app view. Now what we want to do, we want to add that web view to the view. So I'm just going to add sub view, and that was going to be my web view. And then we want to load a URL. Apple very recently did something that I don't know. It makes developers' lives a little bit harder, which is that you can't load a connection that's not HTTPS. You're going to have to jump through hoops in order for you to, you're going to have to do some ATS configuration in order for you to get your non-HTTPS app to run, which is pretty, I don't know, it's secure. Do they have their reasons? That's an argument that's outside the scope of this video. What I'm trying to do here is just to demo, how I can make my Visual Studio write iOS apps. So we added this component to the view. What I want to do now is that I want to build, so my web view now should easily load requests, and it takes a next step URL request. You'll notice that the next step URL request, the classes that you already use, if you're using Swift or using Objective-C writing iOS apps, you'll see the exact same classes, but they're C# friendly. You can actually use them, access them, use their mutators and accessors however you want, to access the properties of an object of these classes. So what we need a next step URL request. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a next step URL request, and I'm going to call it request. I'm going to initialize that guy, and what this guy wants is a next step URL. So let's build a next step URL. URL equals new. And what this URL, actually I assume it will take our string, so I'm just going to go ahead and say https xamarin.com. So it will load Xamarin website, and it has to be HTTPS for the, if you do HTTP, it's just not going to work, and you're going to have to jump through hoops to get the configuration to work. I don't like it, but I'm going to call myself, like, hey, I'm an ignorant. I didn't know. They could have a very strong reason behind that. I read a couple of blog posts. There seems to be they really care about the user's security and whatnot. So cool, no problem. So we want to pass that in the instructor. So here's the URL, and then I want that request to be passed in here. And I want my web view to fit the page. So I think there's like a fit something, scale page to fit equal true, something like that. Cool. One thing I forgot to talk about here is that how can you make your, what if you have 3 or 5 iMacs? Okay, you're a rich guy, you have all these iMacs, and you want to talk to one specific iMac, and you want this one specific iMac to build your apps. How are you going to do that? You can go to the Tools iOS and go to the Xamarin Mac Agent. You could find in the IP address of your Mac and add it in there. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to forget that, yes, remove all that. And if you don't have that, it will actually prompt you. If you're not connected to an actual Mac computer, it will prompt you and tell you which Mac should I connect to, what's the IP address. The way how you get that IP address on the Mac, so this is my Mac in here. I could go to the preferences, system preferences. There we go. Come on, dude. Taking too long. There we go. And you're gonna look for sharing, and sharing. Was an error in sharing performance. Oh boy, what's going on? Open sharing. Oh, there we go. I don't know. My Mac went crazy for a second. And you want to go to remote login, and you're going to have to add yourself. These are your login credentials. So you want to do that before you actually take that next step. And if you look in here, it will tell you exactly how you can SSH into your Mac computer. So you're using this IP address you're going to use that in your Visual Studio to connect to this computer. Also, one thing that helped me a lot is that you have to install Xamarin Studio on your iMac or whatever Mac computer you're using in order for you to be able to actually execute commands to build whatever. So I'm just going to go here and add a new Mac, and the already existing Mac doesn't work. It will say I found your computer, but there's a lot of people that posted online. They said, you know, we couldn't get this to work. We had to re-add the IP manually. So I think that's a bug that has been addressed on the Bugzilla subpage of Xamarin. They should take care of it. So the IP address of 192.168.2, and then I'm just going to enter in my credentials. And I'm going to connect to Xamarin Mac Agent. There we go. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. So it's connecting. All right, there we go. And we have our stuff. We have our code. We want to emulate an iPhone iOS iPhone 6 iOS 9.3, and hopefully our view is exactly the same thing, just to see how things look in here. Come on, dude. Takes a little bit of a time. I guess the only challenging part here is that you have to actually have a Macintosh computer, and I have heard of a lot of attempts of people trying to, virtualize this experience, so you don't actually have to buy a Macintosh. You could just, rent that hardware on the cloud, and it comes with a price and expenses. It depends on what you really want to do. If it's a one-time thing and you want to just build an app on the fly and you don't need the Mac because you don't use the Mac on a daily basis, then I think the cloud solution would be better than putting down $2,000 or $3,000 trying to buy a Mac computer that you'll just use once or twice just to build your iOS apps. So if you're using it on a daily basis, then that's a completely different argument. So here we go. That's our web view. I want to make it on iOS 6, so we already have that. We have everything up and clean. So we're going to start here. and we're gonna move to, so it's just loading and building things. We're gonna move to the, I'm using TeamViewer here to get into my other Mac, and hopefully it will initiate an emulator in here that will show us our app. So we'll see how that works. There we go. Okay, Xamarin app. There we go. So that's our web view basically. So it loaded the web page that we want. If we want to change that to something else, we could just go ahead and change the link. So I could just go back here and say, okay, I don't want it to load Xamarin, I want it to load Microsoft.com. Start again. Should reload this entire thing in here. There we go. There we go, Microsoft.com. So if you have a cool app that you think you already built an ASP.NET MVC app and you don't want to restyle or remodel the entire logic and whatnot, you think your app is pretty cool and it would be compatible with mobile phones, why not? You could just do this. But you're gonna have to make sure that you have an HTTPS, and that means that you have to go, if you're with GoDaddy or whatnot, you have to buy that SSL certificate in order for your app to work. Otherwise things are not gonna work. There's a lot of hoops you have to jump through, as I said before, to get these things going. Some people may argue, they say we don't want this to be touching the carrier and the battery and whatnot in our app. If you don't want that happening, you could simply just take away that line, and what you're gonna want to do is that you want to control this guy. So you want to like move this guy up and down or right and left. You want to change the size of this guy. It's up to you, whatever your preference is, you know, however you want to do it, you know, it's really up to you. Point is, it's really very similar to building a desktop application on Windows. Even the events, if you're building an event for a button that's like let's say I'm clicking a button or something, it won't be that hard. If I take this complete thing away and I decided that I'm not gonna make a web view, instead I'm just gonna make like a label. I guess we need a view first, so let me reverse that. We need a simple view. There it is. Okay, here's a view, and then on top of that we want to put like a label, and we want to put a button. And one interesting thing I found out when we're building stuff, usually when we used to build desktop applications, you would notice that when you put in a controller, the IDE will give that controller a default name. For some reason that doesn't work in here, so you're gonna have to go ahead and say like button 1. And now I want to change the text, so I'm just gonna say okay for text, or let's do something cool, say hello. And let's expand the button so we don't have ellipses in here. We want to centralize our world, and we don't want our label to show up as long as the person didn't click on the button. We're going to expand our label to say something cool, and I want to execute. So when I double click on the button, it should take me to the function where I want the button to do things. So I'm gonna go look for, oh, and I forgot to call the label something, so I need to put like a default name on the label as well. So I'm just gonna call it label 1. So I'm saving that, Control S, and I'm going here and I'm going to say for label, one.text say hello world. Would that work? That would be an interesting question. I'm gonna build my project here. I still want it to be working on iPhone 6. I guess we completely got rid of the web view stuff, so I'm just gonna get rid of all that because we don't need any of it. We don't do web views anymore. We're gonna build native stuff in this example. Alright, let's run this thing and see if it works. So it's building. Hopefully it will reflect down here. These are all the apps that I've been trying before. So, alright, so this is say hello, so I'm going to click on that and it says hello world. I guess it's a little bit left aligned. They have pretty nifty and neat stuff that you could use. So if I want my text to be in the middle, I'll just go to the label wherever it is, somewhere here, and I'm gonna go down to this guy. I'm gonna say show the text in the middle. So now I'm building and running. Here is my app. So hello world this time should show exactly in the middle, hopefully. There we go. So that's that. It's pretty cool. I like it, and it's for free, so I don't have to worry about buying a license or any of that. At the same time, it's pretty straightforward. You could very easily learn it if you know C#, if you understand like software development in general and object-oriented programming specifically. It'll be very easy for you to move forward with building iOS apps. I'm going to make another quick video about building Android apps on Visual Studio very soon. Other than that, feel free to go hack on and explore this beautiful thing. Thank you so much for watching.